To those of the New York Theatre, no other tribute of critical acclaim or glorification can approach the heights of recognition represented in the Sarah Sidson Awards for Distinguished Achievement. A moment ago, this most cherished honor came to a young actress named Eve Harrington. Among the many eminent personalities present is myself, the noted critic Addison DeWitt. Yes, this is Eve's hour. Beautiful, radiant, poised. She's about to make her speech of acceptance. The hall rings with applause and bravos. Everyone is looking at Eve. All except Karen Richards. Karen's made a little pile of crumbs on the tabletop. She's patting it with a spoon, staring at it absently. I wonder what Karen Richards is thinking about.
Eve Harrington. It seems like a lifetime ago, that rainy night in October. I hurried down the alley to the stage door, but where was she? Strange. I had become so accustomed to seeing her here night after night. I found myself looking for a girl I'd never spoken to, wondering where she...
Mrs. Richards?
Oh, there you are. Well, it seemed odd suddenly your not being here. After all, 6 nights a week, watching Margo Channing enter and leave a theater.
I hope you don't mind my speaking to you. Took every bit of courage I could raise.
To speak to a playwright's wife? I'm the lowest form of celebrity.
You're Margo Channing's best friend. You and your husband are always with her.
Tell me, what do you do in between the time Margo goes into the theater and comes out? Just huddle and wait?
Oh no, I see the play.
See the play? You've seen every performance?
Yes.
Well, apart from everything else, don't you find it expensive?
Standing room doesn't cost much. I manage.
Well, you're coming with me, young lady. I'm going to take you to Margo.
Oh no.
Oh, yes, she's got to meet you.
No, I'd be imposing on her. I'd be just another tongue-tied, gushing fan.
There isn't another like you. There couldn't be. Oh, by the way, what's your name?
Eve Harrington.
Margo was in her dressing room. Lloyd, my husband, was with her, and of course, Birdie, Margo's maid.
Morning, Karen. Margo's just been interviewed by a lady reporter from the South.
And the minute it gets printed, they're going to fire on Gettysburg all over again.
It was Fort Sumter they fired on. Where's my cold crane? Lloyd, honey, be a playwright with guts. Write me a nice, normal woman who just shoots her husband.
I find these wisecracks increasingly less funny, Margo. Aged in Wood happens to be a fine and distinguished play.
That's my loyal little woman.
Relax, kid. It's just me and my big mouth.
Well, it's just that you get me so mad sometimes of all the women in the world with nothing to complain about.
Ain't it the truth?
Yes, it is. You're talented, famous, wealthy. People waiting around for you night after night just to see you, even in the rain.
Autograph fiends, little beasts.
They're your fans, your audience.
You're nobody's audience. They never see a play or a movie, even they're never indoors long enough.
Well, there's one indoors right now. I've brought her back to see you.
You've what?
She's just outside the door.
Birdie?
Yeah?
The heave-ho.
You can't put her out, Margo. She worships you. You must have spotted her by now. She's always there.
Oh, I know, the mousy one with the trench coat and the funny hat.
Yes.
Well, how could I miss her? Every night, every matinee.
Come in, Eve. Margo, this is Eve Harrington.
How do you do, my dear?
Oh, brother.
Hello, Miss Channing.
My husband.
Hello, Miss Harrington.
How do you do, Mr. Richards?
And this is my dear friend and companion, Miss Birdie Coonan.
Oh, brother.
Hello, Miss Coonan.
Oh, brother, what?
Oh, when she gets like this, all of a sudden she's playing Hamlet's mother.
I'm sure you must have things to do in the bathroom, Birdie, dear.
Well, if I haven't, I'll find something till you get normal.
Dear Birdie. Now, won't you sit down, Miss Worthington?
Harrington.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Harrington. Won't you sit down?
I was just telling Margo and Lloyd about how often you've seen the play.
Yes, every performance.
Well, then am I safe in assuming you like it?
I'd like anything Miss Channing played in.
Would you really? How sweet.
I doubt very much that you'd like her in The Hairy Ape.
Oh, please don't misunderstand me, Mr. Richards. I think that part of Miss Channing's greatness lies in her ability to choose the best plays. Your new play is for Miss Channing, isn't it?
Well, how did you hear about it?
There was an item in Addison DeWitt's column. I like the title, Footsteps on the Ceiling.
Let's get back to this one. Every performance, Why?
Yes, there are other plays.
Not with you in them. Not by Mr. Richards.
But you must have friends, a home, family.
No.
Tell us about it, Eve.
I only knew how.
Try.
Well, it started with the play before this one.
Remembrance. Did you see it here in New York?
San Francisco. The most important night of my life. Until now. I found myself going the next night, and the next, and the next. And when the show went east, I went east.
Eve, why don't you start at the beginning?
Couldn't possibly interest you.
Oh, please do.
Well, I guess it started back home, Wisconsin. It was just Mom and Dad and me. Farmers were poor in those days, so I quit school and became a secretary in a brewery. It wasn't much fun, but it helped at home. And there was a little theater group there, like a drop of rain on the desert. That's where I met Eddie. We played Lillian 3 times. Oh, I was awful. When the war came, we got married. Eddie was in the Air Force and they sent him to the South Pacific. You were with the OWI, weren't you, Mr. Richard?
And how did you know that?
I looked you up in Who's Who. Then a letter arrived. Eddie had a leave coming up and I went to San Francisco to meet him. But Eddie wasn't there. Just a telegram from Washington to say that Eddie wasn't coming at all. That Eddie was dead. So I figured I'd stay in San Francisco. I was alone, but I couldn't go back without Eddie. Found a job, and his insurance helped. And there were theaters in San Francisco. And one night, Margo Channing came to play in Remembrance, and I went to see it. And, well, here I am.
What a story. Everything but the bloodhound snapping at her rear end.
There are some human experiences, Birdie, that even an ex-fifth-rate vaudevillian should understand and respect. I want to apologize for Birdie.
You don't have to apologize for me. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. It's just my way of talking.
You didn't hurt my feelings, Miss Cooney.
Oh, call me Birdie. And as for being fifth rate, I closed the first half for 11 years and you know it. Oh, hiya, Mr. Sampson.
Hi, Birdie. For your information, Margo, my plane takes off in 47 minutes. And how do I find you? Not ready yet and looking like a junkyard.
Well, thank you so much.
Bill, this is...
The airlines have clocks, even if you haven't. I start shooting a week from Monday.
Bill...
I'm a junkyard.
Is it sabotage? Does my career mean nothing to you? Have you no human consideration?
Show me a human and I might have.
Bill, this is Eve Harrington.
Oh, hi. My wonderful junkyard. The mystery and dreams you find in a junkyard.
Heaven help me. I love a psychotic.
Oh, hello. What's your name?
Eve Harrington?
You've already met.
Huh? Where?
Oh, Eve, you're not going, are you?
I think I'd better. It's been... Well, I can hardly find the words to say how it's been. Thank you.
No, don't go.
The 4 of you must have so much to say to each other with Mr. Sampson leaving.
Nah, stick around. I'll tell you what. We'll put Stanislavski on his plane, you and I, and then go somewhere and talk.
Well, if I'm not in the way...
I'll shower and dress. I won't be a minute.
Lloyd, we've got to go. Good luck, genius.
Geniuses don't need good luck. I do. Keep the thought.
Good night, Eve. I hope I see you again soon.
I'll be at the old stand tomorrow matinee.
This time as a friend.
Mrs. Richards, I'll never forget this night as long as I live, and I'll never forget you for making it possible.
Yes, Bill was going to Hollywood to direct a picture. I can't remember why Lloyd and I couldn't go to the airport with them. But I do remember that as we left, Eve started talking to Bill.
So, you're going to Hollywood, Mr. Sampson.
Just for one picture. Why?
Just wondered.
Just wondered what?
Why you'd want to go out there? I mean, when a man's the best and most successful young director in the theater.
The theater. The theater. What book of rules says the theater only exists in New York? Listen, Junior, and learn.
Yes?
You want to know what the theater is? A flea circus. Also, opera, rodeos, carnivals, ballets, Indian tribal dances, Punch and Judy, one-man band. Wherever there's magic and make-believe in an audience, there's theater. From Donald Duck to Eleanor Deuce, all theater. You don't have to understand them all. You don't have to like them all. Why should you? The theater's for everybody. You included, but not exclusively. So don't approve or disapprove. It may not be your theater, but it's theater for somebody somewhere.
I just asked a simple question.
And I shot my mouth off. Nothing personal, Junior. Margo, I'm leaving here in exactly 3 seconds.
So am I, if I can find my coat.
It's right where you left it.
Oh,
Any messages for Tyrone Power, Birdie?
Oh, just give him my phone number. I'll tell him myself.
you got the key, Birdie?
I ain't forgot it yet.
I'll see you at home in an hour. Eve, where are you going?
You don't really want me tagging along.
No, don't be silly. This way. It's quicker if we cut across the stage. Where is she, Bill? What happened to Eve?
She's at the desk, picking up my tickets. She said we had so little time to be together that she'd...
She's white a girl. I'd forgotten they grew that way anymore.
Yes, the lack of pretense, that strange sort of understanding.
Isn't it silly? Suddenly I've developed a protective feeling for her. A lamb loose in our big stone jungle. Bill, take care of yourself out there.
I understand they've got the Indians pretty well in hand.
Don't get stuck on some glamour puss.
I'll try.
You're not such a bargain, you know. You're a setup for some gorgeous, wide-eyed young babe.
How childish are you going to get before you quit it?
I don't want to be childish. I'd settle for just a few years.
Cut that out right now.
Am I going to lose you, Bill? Am I?
As of this moment, you're 6 years old.
Everything's ready, Mr. Sampson.
Huh? Oh, thanks, Eve.
Here's your ticket. They'd like you to get right on the plane.
You've been very helpful. Good luck.
Goodbye, Mr. Sampson.
Knit me a muffler, Margo?
Kiss me goodbye, Bill.
Hmm.
Call me when you get in.
On the hour. Hey, Junior, keep your eye on her. She's a loose lamb in a jungle.
That same night, we sent for Eve's things, a few pitiful possessions, and moved into the little guest room. The next few weeks were like a fairy tale. I was Cinderella in the last act. Eve became my sister, lawyer, mother, friend, psychiatrist, and cop. Her quiet efficiency, her constant anticipation of my wishes drove Birdie mad. And I loved it. Yes, the honeymoon was on. Early one morning, the telephone awakened me. Huh? What the devil? Hello?
We are ready with your phone call to Beverly Hills, California.
Where? What call?
We are ready with the call you placed for 12 midnight California time to Mr. William Sampson in Beverly Hills. Go ahead, please.
Margo! What a wonderful surprise. What a thoughtful, ever-loving thing to do.
Bill? Have I gone crazy, Bill?
You're my girl, aren't you?
That I am.
Then you're crazy.
Oh. When are you coming back?
In a week. Well, I'm waiting. When are you going to say it?
Oh, Bill, you know how much I do, but over a phone? No, really, that's kid stuff.
Kid stuff or not, it doesn't happen every day. If you won't say it, then can you sing it?
Sing it?
Sure. Like the Western Union boys used to do.
Bill, it's your birthday.
And who remembered it? Who was there on the dot at 12 midnight?
Happy birthday, darling.
The reading could have been better, but you said it. Now, many happy returns of the day?
Many happy returns of the day.
I get a party, don't I?
Of course. Birthday and welcome home. Who'll I ask?
Well, it's no secret. I know all about the party. Eve wrote me.
Eve?
Sure she did. She hasn't missed a week since I left. But you know all about that. You probably tell her what to write. Anyway, I sent her a list of people to ask, so check with her.
Yes, I will.
Tell me, how is Eve? Okay?
Okay.
I love you.
I'll check with Eve.
Hmm?
I love you too. Good night, darling. I thought a lot about that phone call. In the morning when Birdie came in with my breakfast.
Well, that's a silly question to ask me.
I don't think it's silly at all. All I said was, you don't like Eve, do you?
Do you want an argument or an answer?
An answer.
No.
Why not?
Well, now you want an argument.
She works hard.
Night and day.
She's loyal and efficient.
Like an agent with one client.
She thinks only for me. Doesn't she?
Well, let's say she thinks only about you anyway.
How do you mean that?
I'll tell you how. Like, let's see, like you was studying you. Like you were a play or a book or a set of blueprints. How you walk, talk, think, eat, sleep.
I'm sure that's very flattering, Birdie, and I'm sure there's nothing wrong with that.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Eve.
I'm going downtown now, Miss Channing. Is there anything else you thought of?
Well, there's that script to take back to the guild.
I've got it.
And those checks for the income tax man.
Right in this envelope.
Seems I can't think of a thing you haven't thought of.
It's my job, Miss Channing.
Eve, by any chance, did you place a call for me to Bill Sampson for midnight California time?
Golly, I forgot to tell you.
Yes, dear, you forgot all about it.
Well, I was sure you'd want to, of course, being his birthday, and you've been so busy.
It was very thoughtful of you, Eve.
It was Mr. Sampson's birthday. I couldn't forget that. You'd never forgive me. As a matter of fact, I sent him a telegram myself.
Did you say something, Birdie?
Who said something?
Well, don't.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Melanie Del Sol, co-founder and president of the Castle Craig Players. We hope that you are enjoying tonight's virtual production of All About Eve. As all of us tried to navigate this new normal, we at CCP are working to find virtual ways to continue to bring you the highest quality entertainment until we can all be together again safely. As a 501c3 nonprofit organization, every penny counts. Like many small nonprofits, we currently find ourselves in financial difficulties we've never seen before. This is primarily due to having to cut short our run of Next to Normal, as well as having to postpone our productions of Steel Magnolias and Sweeney Todd. This, along with difficulties with our ticketing agency, have put us in a very precarious financial situation. If you are a fan of Castle Craig Players and you are enjoying tonight's performance, we hope that you will consider making a donation of any size so that we can continue our mission to bring you the highest quality live theater when our doors are open to you again. To make a donation, simply go to castlecraig.org and click on the red Donate button. We deeply appreciate your support. And until we can see you again, stay safe and healthy and enjoy the rest of All About Eve.
Bill's welcome home birthday party, a night that would go down in history. Even before it started, I could smell disaster in the air. Come in.
You all put together?
Help me zip up my dress. Did the extra help get here?
There's some loose characters dressed like maids and butlers. Who'd you call? The William Morris Agency?
You're not being funny. I could get actors for less. What about the food?
Oh, the caterer had to go back for hors d'oeuvres. Voila.
That French ventriloquist taught you a lot, didn't he?
There was nothing he didn't know. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a message from the bartender. He asked if Miss Channing knew that we ordered domestic gin by mistake.
The only thing I ordered by mistake is the guests. They're domestic too, but they don't care what they drink as long as it burns. Where's Bill? He's late.
Late for what?
Don't be dense, the party.
I ain't dense, and he's been here 20 minutes.
Well, I certainly think it's odd. He hasn't even... Who is it?
It's me, darling.
Oh, Bill.
Well, looks like we're going to have a very fancy party.
I thought you said you were going to be late. How long have you been here?
Just a few minutes. I ran into Eve. She seemed so interested in Hollywood.
She's a girl of so many interests.
That's a pretty rare quality these days.
She's a girl of so many rare qualities.
So she seems...
So you've pointed out so often, so many qualities, so often, and so young and so fair.
I can't believe you're making this up. It's like something out of an old Clyde Fitch play.
Clyde Fitch, though you may not think so, was well before my time.
I've always denied the legend that you were in Our American Cousin the night Lincoln was shot.
I don't think that's funny.
Of course it's funny. Whipping yourself up into a jealous froth because I spent 10 minutes with a stage-struck kid.
Stage-struck kid? She's a young lady of qualities. And I'll have you know, I'm fed up with both the young lady and her qualities. Studying me as if I were a play or a blueprint. How I walk, talk, think, eat, sleep. It so happens there are particular aspects of my life to which I would like to maintain sole and exclusive rights and privileges.
For instance, what?
For instance, you.
Darling, this is my cue to take you in my arms and reassure you. But I'm not going to. I'm too mad.
Guilty.
Mad, darling. There are certain characteristics for which you are famous, on stage and off. I love you for some of them, and in spite of others. They're part of your equipment for getting along in what is laughingly called our environment. But you've got to keep your teeth sharp, all right? But you will not sharpen them on me or on Eve.
What about her teeth? What about her fangs?
She hasn't cut them yet, and you know it. Eve Harrington has never indicated anything to me but her adoration for you and her happiness at our being in love. And to intimate anything else doesn't spell jealousy to me. It spells a paranoiac insecurity that you should be ashamed of.
Cut, print, What happens in the next reel? Do I get dragged off screaming to the snake pit?
Excuse me, Miss Channing.
Oh, yes, Eve.
The hors d'oeuvres are here. Is there anything else I can do?
Yes, thank you, Eve. I'd like a martini. Very dry and very double.
Hello, everyone. We let ourselves in like common thieves.
You and Karen can come in and take whatever you want, except the gin, of course.
Hi, Lloyd. Karen.
May I have your coat?
Oh, don't bother. I can put it away myself.
Please.
Thank you, Eve.
I like that girl. That quality of quiet graciousness.
Among so many quiet qualities.
Margo, nothing you've ever done has made me as happy as you're taking Eve in.
I'm so happy you're happy.
The general atmosphere is very Macbeth-ish. What hazard is about to happen?
What is he talking about?
Macbeth.
We know you. We've seen you before like this. Is it over or just beginning?
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Good evening, Margo.
Why, Addison DeWitt. I distinctly remember striking your name from the guest list. What are you doing here?
Dear Margo, you were an unforgettable Peter Pan. You must play it again soon. You remember Miss Caswell?
I do not. How do you do?
We never met, that's why.
Miss Caswell is an actress, a graduate of Copacabana School of Dramatic Arts.
Good evening, Mr. DeWitt.
Ah, Eve.
I had no idea you knew each other.
This must be, at long last, our formal introduction. Until now, we have only met in passing.
That's how you met me, in passing.
Eve, this is an old friend of Mr. DeWitt's mother, Miss Caswell, Miss Harrington.
How do you do, Miss Caswell?
Charmed.
Addison, I've been wanting you to meet Eve for the longest time.
Can only have been your natural timidity that kept you from mentioning it.
You've heard of her great interest in the theater.
We have that in common.
Then you two must have a long talk.
I'm afraid Mr. DeWitt would find me boring before too long.
Oh, you won't bore him, honey. You won't even get a chance to talk.
My dear Miss Caswell, come closer. That plump, balding man by the piano is Max Fabian, the famous producer. Go do yourself some good.
Why do they always look like unhappy rabbits?
Because that is what they are. Go make them happy.
Okay, here, take my wrap. Oh, Mr. Fabian!
Now, Margo, you mustn't worry about Eve. I'll take good care of her. She is in safe hands.
Amen.
Margo was right. It was going to be a bumpy night. As the party plowed on, Margo drank her share of martinis. Before we knew it, she'd managed to carve up Bill's cake, several producers, the piano player, and an innocent fern that just happened to be in her line of unfriendly fire. Finally, I had had enough and told Lloyd it was time to go, and he told Margo.
Well, I've been looking for you, Margo. Karen and I have to run along. It's been a swell party.
Where's Karen, Lloyd? Upstairs?
Yes, getting her coat, I think.
How's the new play coming along?
Footsteps on the ceiling? All right, I guess.
And the girl character, Cora, she's still 20?
20-ish. It's not important.
Don't you think it's about time it became important?
Margo, you haven't got any age.
Margo Channing is ageless. Spoken like a press agent. Lloyd, I'm not 20-ish. I'm not 30-ish. 3 months ago, I was 50 years old. 50. 5-0. That slipped out. I hadn't quite made up my mind to admit it.
You've had another fight with Bill, am I right?
Bill's 42. He looks 42. He looked it 5 years ago, and he'll look it 20 years from now. I hate men. Don't worry, Lloyd. I'll play your play. I'll wear rompers and come in rolling a hoop if you like. Now get out of here. Go find your wife.
So nice of you to come upstairs with me, Eve.
I just wanted to be sure you'd find your coat, Mrs. Richards.
Tell me, Eve, how are things going? Are you happy?
There should be a new word for happiness. Being here with Miss Channing, she's been so wonderful, done so much for me.
You've done your share too, Eve. So, good night.
Mrs. Richards?
Karen.
Karen. Isn't it awful? I'm about to ask you for another favor after all you've done already.
Oh, that's nonsense.
It's just that, well, Miss Channing's affairs are in such good shape, and now her understudy is going to have a baby, and they have to replace her, so
You want to be Margot's understudy.
I don't let myself think about it even, but I do know that part so well in every bit of staging. Oh, but suppose I had to go on one night to an audience that came to see Margo Channing. No, I couldn't possibly.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that. Margo just doesn't miss performances. If she can walk, crawl, or roll, she plays.
Show must go on.
No, dear, Margo must go on. As a matter of fact, I see no reason why you shouldn't be her understudy.
Do you think Miss Channing would approve?
I think she'd cheer.
But Mr. Richards and Mr. Sampson?
They'll do as they're told.
Then would you talk to Mr. Fabian about it? After all, he is the producer.
Of course.
You won't forget?
I won't forget.
I seem to be forever thanking you for something, don't I? Good night, Karen.
Good night, dear. So, Eve became Margot's understudy. Naturally, I assumed that Margo approved. One afternoon, Margo went to the theater. Someone else was leaving the cast, and Margo consented to help with an audition. A friend of Addison DeWitt's, a Miss Caswell, was trying out for the part.
Margo, how nice to see you.
Why aren't you in the theater, Addison, at the side of your protege, lending her moral support?
Oh, but I did. The audition, however, is over.
Over? It can't be. I've come here to read with Miss Caswell.
The audition was called for 2:30. It is now nearly 4.
Is it really? Well, who read with Miss Caswell? Bill?
No.
Lloyd?
No.
Well, who then?
Naturally enough, your understudy.
I consider it highly unnatural to allow a girl in an advanced state of pregnancy
I refer to your new and unpregnant understudy, Miss Eve Harrington.
Eve? My understudy?
Well, didn't you know?
Of course I knew.
It just slipped your mind.
How was Miss Caswell?
Well, frankly, I don't remember.
Just slipped your mind.
Completely. Nor could anyone else tell you how Miss Caswell read, or whether Miss Caswell read or rode a pogo stick.
Was she that bad?
Margo, as you know, I have lived in the theater as a Trappist monk lives in his faith. And once in a great while, I experience that moment of revelation for which all true believers wait and pray. You were one. Eve Harrington is another.
I take it she read well.
It wasn't a reading. It was something made of fire and music. Brilliant, vivid, unforgettable.
How nice.
In time, she'll be what you are.
A mass of fire and music. That's me. An old kazoo and some sparklers. Tell me, was Bill swept away too, or were you too full of revelation to notice?
Well, Bill didn't say. But Lloyd was beside himself. He listened to his play as if someone else had written it. He said it sounded so fresh, so new, so full of meaning.
How nice for Lloyd. And how nice for Eve. How nice for everybody.
Eve was incredibly modest. She insisted that Lloyd felt as he did, only because she read the lines exactly as he had written them.
The implication being that I have not been reading them as written?
To the best of my recollection, neither your name nor your performance entered the conversation. May I give you a lift somewhere?
No, thank you, Addison. I came here to help with an audition. I'll just run on in, so they'll know I did come after all. I must start wearing a watch. I never have, you know. Terribly sorry I'm late. Lunch went long and I couldn't find a cab. Well, shall we start? Where's Miss Caswell? Hello, Bill. Hello, Lloyd. Hello? Hello, Eve?
Hello, Miss Channing.
It's all over, Margo.
What's all over?
The audition. Eve read with Miss Caswell.
Eve? How enchanting. Wherever did you get the idea of letting Eve read?
Well, she's your understudy.
Eve? My understudy? I had no idea.
I thought you knew. She was put on over a week ago.
Miss Channing, I can't tell you how glad I am that you arrived so late.
Really, Eve? Why?
If you'd been here to begin with, I never would have dared to read at all. I couldn't have.
What a pity. All that fire and music going to waste.
What fire and music?
You wouldn't understand.
I was dreadful, Miss Channing, believe me.
Oh, I'm sure you underestimate yourself, Eve. You always do.
You'd have been proud of her, Margo. Eve was a revelation.
Oh, to you too, Lloyd.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that, among other things, it must have been a revelation to have your 24-year-old character played by a 24-year-old actress. Also, it must have sounded so new and fresh to you, so exciting to have your lines read to you just as you wrote them. So full of meaning, fire, and music.
You've been talking to that...
Talking Addison.
You've been talking to that venomous fishwife, Addison DeWitt.
In this case, apparently as trustworthy as the World Almanac.
You knew when you came in that the audition was over. That Eve was your understudy. Playing that childish game of cat and mouse.
No mouse. Never mouse. If anything, rat.
You have a genius for making a barroom brawl out of a perfectly innocent misunderstanding at most.
Perfectly innocent? Men have been hanged for less. I'm lied to, attacked behind my back, accused of reading your silly dialogue inaccurately as if it were the holy gospel.
I never said it was.
Then you listened as if someone else had written your play. Whom did you have in mind? Arthur Miller, Sherwood, Beaumont, and Fletcher?
What makes you think either Arthur Miller or Robert Sherwood would stand for the nonsense I take from you? You'd better stick to Beaumont and Fletcher. They've been dead for 300 years.
All playwrights should be dead for 300 years.
That would solve none of their problems because actresses never die. The stars never die and never change.
You can change this star anytime you want for a new, fresh, exciting one, fully equipped with fire and music, anytime you want, starting with tonight's performance.
I shall never understand the weird process by which a body and voice suddenly fancies itself a mind. Just when exactly does an actress decide they're her words she's saying and her thoughts she's expressing?
Usually at the point when she has to rewrite and rethink them to keep the audience from leaving the theater.
It's about time the piano realized that it has not written the concerto.
And you, Bill, you, I take it, are the Paderewski who plays this concerto on me, the piano. Where is Princess Fire and Music?
Who?
The kid, Junior.
Gone.
I must have frightened her away.
I wouldn't be surprised. Sometimes you frighten me.
I'm nothing but a body and a voice. No mind.
What a body. What a voice. Now calm down. The gong rang. The fight's over.
I will not calm down.
Then don't calm down.
And I will not be plotted against.
Here we go.
Such nonsense. What do you all take me for? Little Nell from the country, been my understudy for over a week without my knowing, shows up for an audition when everyone knew I'd be here and gives a performance. Out of nowhere, gives a performance.
You've been through all that with Lloyd.
Full of fire and music and whatnot, carefully rehearsed, I have no doubt. Full of those Bill Sampson touches.
I am sick and tired of these paranoiac outbursts. I didn't even know Eve Harrington was your understudy until 2:30 this afternoon.
Tell that to Dr. Freud along with the rest of it.
No, I'll tell it to you. for the last time, I'll tell it to you. I love you. You're a beautiful and intelligent woman.
A body with a voice.
And a great actress. You have every reason for happiness.
Except happiness.
Every reason, but due to some strange, uncontrollable, unconscious drive, you permit the slightest action of a kid.
A kid?
Like Eve to turn you into a hysterical, screaming heartbeat. Now, once and for all, stop it.
It's obvious you're not a woman.
I've been aware of that for some time.
Well, I am.
I'll say. Now, come on, Margo. Let's get out of here. I'll buy you a drink.
I'll admit I may have seen better days, but I am still not to be had for the price of a cocktail, like a salted peanut.
Margo, let's make peace.
The terms are too high. Unconditional surrender.
Just being happy? Just stopping all this nonsense about Eve and me?
It's not nonsense. I wish it were.
Margo, tell me, what's behind all this?
I don't know, Bill. Just a feeling. I don't know.
I think you do know, but you won't or can't tell me. I told you before, this was going to be my last try, and I meant it. I can't think of anything else to do. I wish I could. Goodbye, Margo.
Bill, where are you going? To find Eve?
That suddenly makes the whole thing believable.
Bill, wait. Bill, wait. Oh, Bill.
Frankly, Lloyd, I don't understand a word you're saying.
Not only was Margo 2 hours late, but that childish, heavy-handed routine about not knowing Eve was her understudy.
It's possible she just didn't know.
Of course she knew. Addison told her. Now, tell me something, Karen. Just one thing. Somebody's got to stop Margo. Who's going to do it? Who's going to give her that boot in the rear she needs and deserves?
It's going to be a very cozy weekend, dear.
What? What weekend?
We're driving out to the country tomorrow night. Just the four of us. Bill, Margo, you, and I.
Well, we've spent weekends before with nobody talking. Just be sure to lock up all the blunt instruments.
Lloyd was right, of course, about Margo and that boot coming to her. Heaven knows she had one coming, but how? How to do it? And then it came to me, my big idea. After all, it was no more than a perfectly harmless joke which Margo herself would be the first to enjoy. There's no reason why she shouldn't be told about it. In time, my big idea required a telephone call. Hello, operator? Will you call Miss Eve Harrington to the phone, please? Yes, Miss Eve Harrington. It was a cold weekend we spent in the country. Bill didn't come at all, and Margo didn't care, or so she kept saying. Somehow we staggered through it. Late Monday afternoon, Lloyd and I set out to drive Margo to the station, and my big idea went into action. Its purpose was to make Margo miss her performance so that Eve would have to take her place. All I did was drain the gas tank of her car. My timing was perfect. Margo missed her train, and we sat there on the side of the highway, the two of us, while Lloyd, cursing softly, went down the road in search of gasoline.
Cigarette can?
Oh, no, thank you, dear.
I haven't been very pleasant this weekend.
Well, we've all seemed a little tense lately.
Come to think of it, I haven't been very pleasant for weeks. For that, I am truly sorry. More than any two people I know, I don't want you and Lloyd to be angry with me.
How could we? You're Margo.
And what is that? Besides something spelled out in light bulbs, I mean. Besides something called a temperament, which consists mostly of swooping about on a broomstick, screaming at the top of my voice. Infants behave the way I do, you know. They get drunk if they knew how, when they can't have what they want, when they feel unwanted or insecure or unloved.
What about Bill? He's in love with you.
More than anything in this world, I love Bill. And I want Bill. I want him to love me. But me, not Margo Channing. And if I can't tell them apart, how can he? Karen, about Eve. Oh, I've acted pretty disgracefully toward her, too.
Well,
No. Don't fumble for excuses. Not now with my hair down. At best, let's say I've been oversensitive to the fact that she's so young, so feminine and helpless. Just so many things that I want to be for Bill.
Margo, I want you to know how sorry I am about this.
About what?
Getting stuck like this, I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Oh, Karen, don't give it another thought. One of Destiny's merry pranks. After all, you didn't personally drain the gasoline out of my tank.
What?
I said you didn't personally drain the gasoline out of the tank.
Oh, yes.
This is Addison DeWitt. It is now my turn to tell you all about Eve. That night, with Margo marooned in the country, Eve Harrington took her place on the stage. Her performance was magnificent. But one thing puzzled me. Why was I invited to that particular performance, along with half a dozen other critics? A performance about which the management knew nothing until they were forced to ring up the curtain at 9 o'clock, when Margo failed to appear. Coincidence? Also, every indication of intrigue, skullduggery, and fraud. Afterwards, I went backstage. Her dressing room was closed, but I overheard a rather interesting conversation between Eve and Bill Sampson.
You can be very proud of yourself, Eve. That was a wonderful job you did tonight. I'll admit, I had my doubts.
You shouldn't have had any doubts.
After all, the other day at your audition, that was one scene. The woods are full of one-scene sensations. But you did it. With work and patience, you'll be a fine actress. If that's what you want to be.
Is that what you want me to be?
I'm talking about you and what you want.
So am I.
What have I got to do with it?
Everything.
Ooh, the names I've been called, but never Svenjali. Good night, Eve.
Don't go, Bill. Don't run away.
From what would I be running?
You're always after the truth on the stage. What about off?
I'm for it.
Then face it. I have. Ever since that first night, right here in this dressing room.
When I told you what every young actress should know?
When you told me that whatever I became, it would be because of you.
Your makeup's a little heavy.
And for you.
You're quite a girl.
You think?
I'm in love with Margo. Hadn't you heard?
All kinds of things.
I'm only human. Rumors to the contrary. And I'm as curious as the next man.
Find out.
Only thing, what I go after, I want to go after. I don't want it to come after me. Don't cry. Just score it as an incomplete forward pass.
Bill left, and I waited a reasonable amount of time for her tears to dry. And then, I too had a chat with Eve. I wanted to write a column about her, and there were so many questions to ask.
So kind of you to stop by, Mr. DeWitt. I'm so glad you liked me tonight. But it's still Miss Channing's performance. I'm just a carbon copy you read when you can't find the original.
I've heard about your modesty, Miss Harrington, but I think the time has come to shed some of your humility. It is just as false not to blow your horn at all as it is to blow it too loudly.
I don't think I've done anything to sound off about. One pretty good performance by an understudy. It'll be forgotten tomorrow.
Oh, it needn't be.
Why not? I'm a nobody.
I am a somebody.
You certainly are.
After you change, we can have supper.
I'd love to. Or should I pretend I'm busy?
Oh, let's have a minimum of pretending. I shall want to do a column about you.
I'm not enough for a paragraph.
There's so much I want to know. I've heard your story in bits and pieces. Your home in Wisconsin, your tragic marriage, your fanatical attachment to Margo. It started in San Francisco, didn't it?
Yes, that's right.
San Francisco. An oasis of civilization in the California desert. Tell me, do you share my high opinion of San Francisco?
Yes, of course.
And that memorable night when Margo first dazzled you from the stage. What theater was it in San Francisco? Was it the Schubert?
Yes, the Schubert.
A fine old theater, the Schubert. Full of dignity and tradition. By the way, what was your husband's name?
Eddie.
Eddie what?
Really, Mr. DeWitt, if I'm ever going to change, I'll only be a moment.
Where would you like to go, Eve? We must make this a special night.
You take charge.
I believe I will. I learned a lot about Eve that night. After I brought her home, I went to my office to write my column. What I wrote pleased me exceedingly.
Stop saying you can't believe it, Karen. It's right here in print, isn't it? By Addison DeWitt. Listen to this. Miss Harrington had much to tell about the lamentable practices in the theater of permitting, shall we say, mature actresses to continue playing roles requiring a youth and vigor of which they retain but a dim memory.
I still can't believe that Eve would...
It gets better. About the understandable reluctance on the part of our entrenched first ladies of the stage to encourage younger actresses. About Miss Harrington's own long, unsupported struggle for opportunity.
Eve couldn't have said anything like that.
Yes, how all of those papers in town happened to catch that particular performance last night. That little witch must have sent out messenger boys, snatching critics from wherever they holed up. Well, she won't get away with it, nor will Addison DeWitt and his poison pen. I will personally...
I came as soon as I read that piece of filth. I ran all the way.
Bill, oh, thank heavens you're here.
Oh, Bill.
Bill's here, baby. Everything all right now?
I guess you two would like to be alone. I'll say goodbye.
Would you mind, Karen? We'll call you later.
That very night, Eve and I were having supper in the cub room of the Stork Club, when in walked in Margo, Bill, Lloyd, and Karen. They seemed unusually happy and gay.
In brief, our news is simply this. Margo and I are getting married.
Glory, hallelujah.
Well, I'll be.
Oh, Margo, when? When are you going to do it?
We meet at City Hall tomorrow morning at 10. And you, Margo, are going to be on time for once.
Yes, sir.
City Hall? That's for prize fighters and reporters.
It's only for the license. There's a 3-day wait for blood tests.
I'll marry you if it turns out you have no blood at all.
What are you going to wear?
Simple. A fur coat over a nightgown?
The point is, we want you two beside us as our nearest and dearest friends.
Which we are. Which we'll always be.
Excuse me, Mrs. Richards?
Yes, waiter?
This note is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Very discreet, Karen, and nod right out in the open like that. Next time, tell your lover to blow smoke rings or tap a glass.
The world is full of love tonight. No woman is safe.
Well, I'll be. This beats all the world's records for running, standing, and jumping golf.
What is it?
Here, Margo, read this.
Please forgive me for butting into what seems such a happy occasion, but it's most important that I speak with you. Please, and that's underlined, meet me in the ladies' room. Eve.
I understand she's now the understudy in there.
Well, after all, maybe Eve just wants to apologize.
I have no possible interest in anything she could have to say.
But what could she say? That's what fascinates me.
Go on, find out.
Karen, in all the years of our friendship, I have never let you go to the ladies' room alone. But now I must. I am busting to know what's going on in that feverish little brain waiting in there.
Well, all right.
Thank you for coming, Karen. I just had to speak to you.
I don't know what you have to tell me, Eve, but I won't believe a word of it.
Why should you? It's about Mr. DeWitt's column.
Oh, do you expect me to believe that you didn't say any of those things? That they were all Addison?
You find yourself trying to say what you mean, but somehow the words change and they become his words, and suddenly you're not saying what you mean, but what he means. I just wanted you to know that the responsibility is mine and the disgrace.
Oh, now let's not get over dramatic.
You've got a really low opinion of me, haven't you? Well, I'll give you some pleasant news. I've been told off, in no uncertain terms, all over town. Miss Channing should be happy to hear that.
Now, Eve, don't cry.
I'm not crying.
After all, you still have a powerful friend in Addison DeWitt.
He's not my friend. You were my friends. I wish I ever met him. I'll never get over this. Never.
Yes, you will. You're very young and very talented, and believe it or not, if there's anything I can do...
Yes, there is something...
Yes, I think I know.
Something most important you can do. Lloyd's new play.
You want to play the lead. You want me to tell Lloyd that I think you should play Cora.
If you told him so, he'd give me the part. He said he would.
After all you've said, don't you know that part was written for Margo?
What could have been 15 years ago? It's my part now. You've got to tell Lloyd it's for me.
I don't think anything in the world could make me say that.
Addison wants me to play it.
Over my dead body.
That won't be necessary. Addison knows how Margo happened to miss that performance, how I happened to know she'd miss it in time to call him and notify every paper in town.
Eve.
You better sit down. You look a bit wobbly. If I play Cora, Addison will never tell what happened, in or out of print, a simple exchange of favors. And I'm so happy I could do something for you at long last. Your friendship with Margo, your deep, close friendship. What would happen to it, do you think, if she knew the cheap trick you played on her for my benefit? No. It would be so much easier on everyone concerned if I were to play Cora. And so much better theater, too.
A part in a play. You'd do all that just for a part in a play.
I'd do much more for a part that good. Excuse me, Karen. Addison's waiting for me.
Care to look at a menu, Eve? Although you can't be very hungry, not after all that humble pie.
Nothing of the kind. Karen and I had a nice talk.
Including a casual reference to the part of Cora, and your hopes of playing it?
I discussed it very openly.
And Karen mentioned, of course, that Margo expects to play the part.
Oddly enough, she didn't say a word about Margo, just that she'll be happy to do what she can to see that I play the part.
Just like that, hey?
Just like that.
Do you know, Eve, sometimes I think you keep things from me.
I don't think that's funny.
It wasn't meant to be.
I confide in you and rely on you more than anyone I have ever known. To say a thing like that now without any reason when I need you more than ever.
I hope you mean what you say, Eve. I intend to hold you to it. We have a great deal in common, it seems to me.
Well, Karen, what happened?
Nothing much, she apologized.
With tears?
With tears.
Very classy stuff. Lots of technique. Groom, may I have a wedding present?
What would you like? Texas?
I want everybody to shut up about Eve. Just shut up about Eve. That's all I want. Never have I ever been so happy and so forgiving. I forgive Eve. And do you know why I forgive Eve? Because she's left good behind. The four of us here together. It's Eve's fault. I forgive her. And Bill, especially Bill. Eve did that too.
You know she probably means well, after all.
She's a louse.
Never try to outguess Margo.
Correct. Which brings me to you, Lloyd. I'm afraid I have bad news. Do you promise not to be angry with me?
Well, that depends.
I'd better come right out and say it. I don't want to play Cora.
You what?
Now, wait a minute, Karen. You're always so touchy about his plays. It isn't the part. It's a great part, but not for me anymore. Not a four-square, upright, downright, forthright, married lady.
What's your being married got to do with it?
Means I finally got a life to live. I don't have to play parts I'm too old for just because I've got nothing to do with my nights. I'll make it up to you, believe me. I'll tour a year with this one, anything. Only you do understand, don't you, Lloyd?
What's so funny?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Everything. Everything's so funny. And in due time, Margo and Bill were married. Lloyd never got around somehow to asking me whether it was all right with me for Eve to play Cora. Bill, oddly enough, refused to direct the play at first, with Eve in it. Lloyd finally won him over. Margo never came to a rehearsal, too much to do around the house, she said. I'd never known Bill and Lloyd to fight as bitterly and as often, and always over some business for Eve, or a move, or the way she read a speech. But then I'd never known Lloyd to meddle as much with Bill's directing, as far as it affected Eve, that is. Somehow Eve kept them going. Bill stuck it out, and Lloyd seemed happy, and I thought it might be best if I skipped rehearsals from then on.
Occasionally, I'd drop by the theater, not only to admire Eve, but to be amused by the increasing tension developing, because of Eve, between those two old friends, Lloyd the writer and Bill the director. Something was in the air. Finally, the play was ready for its out-of-town opening in New Haven. Now, to the theater world, New Haven, Connecticut is a short stretch of sidewalk between the Schubert Theater and the Taft Hotel, surrounded by what looks very much like a small city. It is here that managers have what are called out-of-town openings. which are openings for New Yorkers who want to go out of town. That afternoon, I saw Eve at her hotel.
Isn't it strange, Addison? I thought I'd be panic-stricken, want to run away or something. Instead, I can't wait for tonight to come and go.
Are you that sure of tonight?
Aren't you?
Frankly, yes.
It'll bring me everything I ever wanted. The end of an old road, the beginning of a new one.
All paved with diamonds and gold?
You know me better than that.
Paved with what, then?
Stars. What time is it?
Almost 4.
Good. Plenty of time for a nice long nap.
You could sleep too, couldn't you?
Why not?
The mark of a true killer. Sleep tight, rest easy, and come out fighting?
Why'd you call me a killer?
Did I say killer? I meant champion. I get my boxing terms mixed.
Oh, by the way, there'll be a party here tonight. You'll come, won't you? We're having everyone up after the performance.
We are?
Lloyd and I.
I find it odd that Karen isn't here for the opening, don't you? She's always been so fanatically devoted to Lloyd.
Addison, just a few minutes ago, I said this would be a night to remember. I didn't mean just the theater.
What else?
Lloyd Richards. He's going to leave Karen. We're going to be married.
So that's it. Lloyd. Still just the theater, after all.
It's nothing of the kind. Lloyd loves me, and I love him.
I know nothing about Lloyd and his loves. I leave those to Louisa May Alcott. But I do know you.
I'm in love with Lloyd. Addison, won't it just be perfect? Lloyd and I, there's no telling how far we can go. He'll write great plays for me. I'll make them great. You're the only one I've told, the only one who knows except Lloyd and me.
And Karen.
She doesn't know.
She knows enough not to be here.
But not all of it. Not that Lloyd and I are going to be married. Well, say something. Anything. Congratulations. Good work, Eve.
What do you take me for? Is it possible that you've confused me for that gang of backward children you've been playing tricks on? That you have the same contempt for me that you have for them?
I'm sure you mean something by that, Addison, but I don't know what.
Look closely, Eve. It's time that you did. I am Addison DeWitt. I am nobody's fool. Least of all yours.
I never intended you to be.
Oh, yes, you did. You still do.
I still don't know what you're getting at.
You know it as well as I do, that while Lloyd may leave Karen, he will not leave Karen for you.
What do you mean by that?
More plainly and more distinctly, I have not come to New Haven to see the play, discuss your dreams, or to climb the ivy from the walls of Yale. I have come to tell you that you will not marry Lloyd or anyone else, because I will not permit it.
You will not permit it. That sounds medieval. Something out of an old melodrama.
So does the history of the world for the past 20 years. Frankly, I had hoped that you would somehow have known or have taken it for granted that you and I...
You and I?
Remember, as long as you live, never to laugh at me. At anything or anyone else, but never at me.
Get out.
To begin with, your name is not Eve Harrington. It is Gertrude Zelinsky.
Get out or I'll have you thrown out.
It is true that your parents were poor. They still are. And they would like to know how you are and where you are. They haven't heard from you for 3 years.
What of it?
It's true you worked in a brewery. But life in the brewery was apparently not as dull as you pictured it. As a matter of fact, it got less and less dull, until your boss's wife had you followed by detectives.
She never proved anything, not a thing!
Oh, but the $500 you were paid to get out of town brought you straight to New York, didn't it?
She was a liar! A liar!
There was no Eddie, no pilot, and you've never been married. That was not only a lie, but an insult to dead heroes and to the women who loved them. You gave yourself away, my dear. San Francisco has no Schubert Theater. You've never been to San Francisco. That was a stupid lie, easy to expose, not worthy of you.
I had to get in to meet Margo. I had to say something, be somebody, make her like me.
Oh, she did like you. She helped and trusted you. You paid her back by trying to take Bill away.
That's not true.
After you failed, you used my name and my column to blackmail Karen into getting the part of Cora. And you lied to me about it.
No.
I had lunch with Karen not 3 hours ago. As always, with women who want to find things out, she told me more than she had learned. That I should want you at all suddenly strikes me as the height of improbability. But that, in itself, is probably the reason. You're an improbable person, Eve. And so am I. We have that in common. Also a contempt for humanity, an inability to love and to be loved, insatiable ambition, and talent. We deserve each other. Are you listening to me?
Yes, Addison.
And you realize and you agree how completely you belong to me?
Yes, Addison.
Then take your nap now. And good luck for tonight.
I won't go on tonight. I couldn't. Not possibly. I couldn't go on.
Couldn't go on. You'll give the performance of your life.
I won't. I can't.
And she did give the performance of her life. It was a night to remember that night. And ever since, her triumph has endured. And that is why she's here tonight, on stage at the Sarah Sidson's Awards. So gracious and modest, telling the members and distinguished guests that the award belongs not to her, but to those who made it possible.
And further, the larger share of this award belongs to my friends in the theater. My first friend in the business, whose kindness I shall never forget, Mrs. Karen Richards. It was Karen who first brought me to one whom I had always idolized, and who was to become my benefactor and champion, a great actress and a great woman, Margo Channing. My director, Bill Sampson, who demanded always a little more than my talent could provide, and one without whose great play and faith in me this night would never have been. How can I repay Lloyd Richard? How can I repay the many others? So many that I couldn't possibly name them all. Although I am going to Hollywood next week to make a film, do not think for a moment that I am leaving you. How could I? For my heart is here in the theater, and 3,000 miles are too far to be away from one's heart. I'll be back to claim it, and soon. That is, if you want me back.
Me now, toward our table. It'll take a while, all those photographers. And of course, she'll have to pause for a moment at their table. Her dear friends, Margo, Karen, Bill, and Lloyd.
Congratulations, Eve.
Thank you, Karen.
Nice speech, Eve.
Thank you, Margo.
But I wouldn't worry too much about your heart. You can always put that award where your heart ought to be.
Mr. DeWitt?
Why, Miss Caswell, how nice to see you again.
Isn't she wonderful, Mr. DeWitt?
There's no one like Eve, Miss Caswell. No one in the world. Tell me, Miss Caswell, do you want someday to have an award like that of your own?
More than anything else in the whole world.
Then you must ask Eve Harrington how to get one. Miss Harrington knows all about it.